You studied masters in biochemistry at the Lomonosov Moscow State University. Can you tell us about the university?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's been actually a lot of people say that the greatest years in your life are the ones that you spend in university or college. I I would say, yeah, that's probably true. Definitely some of the greatest years for that time. Yeah, this is the time when you first in before college, right? Before university, you read books and become interested and think that you're going to become scientist and really fascinated and do want to do things. Then you go to college, and there, yeah, of course, you get a lot of different materials that you have to study, learn, take exams, pass them. Like first couple years, yeah, maybe will be grueling or something like that. But this kind of prepares you to the future. And then, let's say at the third or fourth year, kind of become adjusted and know what's going on. And this is also becomes the time that you able to do some experimental work. And this really, you start in a way to some kind of a free floating, exploring your own ideas, even with some kind of specific framework, but still. Basically, that's what allowed me Moscow State, Lomonosov Moscow State University, and so first year and a half, it was a general course. We had about 300 students who would take general course in biology, like and not just in biology, like math, physics, zoology, botany, and so on. And then on a second year, we would start to specializing on different departments and different areas of biology. And this is when I chose to become a biochemist. And then later on went to Department of Biochemistry. And there, I really liked our department of biochemistry because everyone was really caring about students who come to the department. We had about 15 in our class, I think at the time. And everyone would teach us all the details and all the subjects, how to hold the pipette, how to measure solution and this and that. And then obviously the courses that had been taught, and they created a really welcoming and friendly atmosphere for us to learn, because I think that's also another important fact that also not discussed, because of course it's really important to be curious and wanted to become scientist and like science, but another important aspect, and maybe that really comes first, it's the what kind of atmosphere one's and ends up to, right? If it's welcoming and everything's created around you to do science, you a lot more likely to pursue and stay in that field. And that's what actually been created for us in the department. That, and most of us, as far as I know, actually were still pursuing science in different areas of science, and some of us later on did their PhDs and then now doing postdocs. Some went to some companies, but most of them are in science, as far as I know. And I think that's was one of the advantages that we went to this department. In general, in Moscow University, we get universal knowledge. We get knowledge about pretty much everything, from economics to all the biology of, let's say, lower plants or something like that. In this way, we get exposed to lots of different areas and subject questions, which is also important for that theoretical concept that I was talking about, to be exposed to as many fields as possible, to be able to use knowledge from different areas and combine in something new and apply them to either biology or some other questions that those concepts are not used there.
Yeah. And what was your transition like? How did you adjust to the transition from moving from Moscow to the Rowan University in New Jersey?
Yeah, that was interesting. So my friend actually, from the year above, he already went to PhD to US, and at the time I wasn't sure what I was gonna do yet. In Russia, science perspective wasn't that great at the time, and unfortunately, and a lot of people were considering if they wanted to stay in science and become scientists. Unfortunately, they would choose to go abroad, and a lot of people did. And I was also thinking about that. And I started asking him what's going on in the US, how science is structured, and how it looks like there. He was telling me things, and I was listening, and I thought that sounds interesting and something that probably I would consider to do. And then he told me about his path and what kind of exams he took, like TOEFL, language exam, obviously, and then GRE. And then I said, okay, I'll try that too. So I took those exams and then applied to the schools. And I applied to, at the time it was actually UMDNJ, University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey, and later on it became like separated between Rutgers University and this Rowan, and for this kind of random reason we became part of Rowan, although for the people who are not know that, I just call Rutgers because it's more easier to understand where you're from in terms of university. So anyway, yeah, so and my friend was nearby. That's why I decided to apply to that school, because I wanted for someone that I know to be able to go there and to be some kind of a community, so that I will know someone to be able for easier transitioning. That's why I applied there and got into school, and then I moved to US. Of course, like first year, yeah, it was tough because everything was different. The culture was different, the mentality was different, and the way of life was different. And it just took time to adjust. My friend helped, and the lab also that I ended up to also was helpful. So yeah, that's yeah, just first year I would say was kind of tough, but then after a year you kind of learn everything and get used to it.
So,
yeah, I would say, yeah.
So did you like the Did you like the university then in the next few years?
Yeah, I liked it as soon as I became like felt I couldn't say felt like home, but felt like I'm there and participating in everything that's in there, and I don't think constantly about home and going home. As soon as I realized and went to that path, I think everything became fine. So I started liking place where I live, university that I go, the project that I'm at, and pretty much everything. And it just kind of psychological moment that takes time for adjustment. And I think it's really important at that time to not give up, because first impression would be it's probably not the right place. I should have stayed home or something like that. But it really needs time to kind of overcome that feeling, because that's purely emotional, that's first feeling. And obviously, as we know, emotions come first, but they actually do not decide. And that's why we need to wait for side and then logic to kick in and to see what's actually is going on. And I think that's probably important and hardest part, just to be patient. I would say even emotionally patient, because not to make rush decision right away, but just to let time to sink in into atmosphere and just to figure out. Yeah.